This video is about how to draw a face, but it's not as much the technique, but maybe more your attitude towards how to draw a face. Because a face is actually just an egg with a nose, two eyes, and a mouth. That's how you start. You start very light. No pressure at all. But if you think that drawing is all about results and how it looks like in the end, you are wrong. So much in this world we're trying to accomplish is about the goal, the end point, the result. And you will be trashed if the result is not meeting either your expectations or somebody else's expectations. And you will be glorified if it's much better than you thought. That the end result is so amazing that people love you for it. The expectations of an artistic impression are so big that you're willing to underperform and then say, this is my artistic freedom that I have. This is art. And then maybe you think of an image that Picasso had painted, drew. Just some lines that it looks like a childish drawing, simple lines. But remember that Picasso could draw very well, and that he only used a couple of lines was a sign of mastery and not some childish, immature drawing. Learning to draw is a skill, and everybody can learn it. It's not much different than learning to drive a car or how to market yourself on Facebook, for example. Now the question could rise, why would you even want to learn to draw a face, a self-portrait, or anything for that matter? Because learning to drive a car, you need to do your work, and your work gives you money, and the money is good for your survival. And learning to draw does not do that. And if it's difficult, why would you even put the effort into something that's so painful to learn? I'll get back to that question later, because there is a very good reason why everybody should learn to draw. But let's look at the technical aspect of making a self-portrait first. The space between the two eyes is exactly one eye, the width of an eye. These are things you need to know. There's a lot of knowledge. But before that, you need to know how to hold a pencil. And you hold the pencil between the thumb and the first finger. Many people don't know how to do that. But when you do, you need to know that you can draw a line on paper. Isn't that amazing that you figured that out? You see, the evolution of the human race is an amazing story when you think about it. Drawing is such an innate quality of every human being that a baby can draw before it can walk. It needs to learn how to speak, and it needs to learn how to walk, but to draw, nobody needs to tell a baby how to do that. They will draw on your wallpaper, your cookbooks, and even the Bible before you can tell them how we as human beings learn how to do certain things. I'm just saying, don't be surprised when a baby knows how to draw. You did too at a certain point, and you know you did, but something changed in the interim. You were enjoying drawing. You were scratching lines on paper, and you figured out how to draw a house. Every child knows how to draw a house. And every child knows how to draw a tree. And a sun, duh. Everybody knows how to draw a sun. But then all of a sudden, your consciousness kicked in, and you saw that the images you were drawing did not look like anything the reality looked like. It was like all of a sudden you woke up and you were not happy anymore. Maybe somebody else made a comment of one of your drawings. Do you remember being 8 or 9 and you heard someone laughing at your drawing of an automobile in the sky? Well, an automobile cannot fly. Of course not, you thought. Of course not. What was I thinking? How ridiculous is this? An automobile in the sky. And you felt embarrassed. And probably that's where you left this feeling of happiness, your creative power, this tiny little piece of paradise that was too childish all of a sudden. And you needed to grow up and leave it because the real world was waiting for you. Do you remember that? But you know you left a piece of yourself behind, didn't you? Some creative energy got stuck there. But we don't talk about it anymore. It had some traumatic feel to it. And that's why we don't talk about it anymore. And that's where the skill of drawing got stuck forever. Saturday afternoon, when I start drawing this portrait, I feel restless. The whole world used to get ready to go out, but we are in COVID and places are closed. We're in lockdown, so there's nowhere to go. And it makes me feel restless because where is everybody? What do you do on a Saturday night? Do you stay at home? Do you feel okay with that? But I tell myself that I'm just doing my homework because this is a portrait that I'm drawing for my students. It's a demonstration basically about the use of a pencil. The pencil is an HB, very regular. They also call it F. And when I hold my pencil under a very slight angle, I'm actually sharpening it. I'm sharpening it so I can put other lines that need to be stark and a lot darker with a sharp edge. That's what I'm doing. What do you do when you feel lonely? Do you call somebody? Do you talk about the weather? I don't know if that helps that much. As long as I remember, I had this feeling. It didn't matter if I was living with my parents and siblings, if I was traveling to distant lands, if I was married. That feeling always could creep up on me. Drawing is actually a good way of getting rid of it. I do think that loneliness also has to do with a lack of purpose, a lack of connecting to people who are in this journey with you. While I'm drawing, I'm looking at this feeling. I'm feeling it. I'm not running away from it. But I am questioning my personal reason for living. And I'm not sure if it had to do with COVID. Maybe because I lost my job. Maybe because there are so many new options and nothing has manifested yet. Maybe all these things add to this feeling. But the drawing is more important now. Because while I'm drawing, I'm looking very deep into my own eyes and my own wrinkles for that matter. When you start with drawing very light, you can course correct, and you need to course correct. That's what right brain thinking is. You see with your own eyes that something is not quite right, so you correct it. And with every correction, the place where you correct it becomes a little darker. I don't know how to draw when I start to know exactly where everything goes, but I start somewhere. I start somewhere, and I start also with a schematic setup, like the head is an egg, and here are the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the jaw, the ear. And then I scan the whole picture at all times. All the while drawing, I look at everything. I'm not fussing over the mouth only and get the mouth right before I go to the nose. Maybe some artists do, I don't know, but I don't. I look at the whole picture at all times. And that's another thing that the right brain is actually very good at. Holistic. It has a holistic approach. Not only for a self-portrait, but also daily life. You can run it from your right side of the brain. And this is how it looks like. You have an appointment with your accountant and you are repeating words that you want to say to him. You don't forget your folder. You really have some specific questions. But in the far end, you also hear the thunder, the rumbling sound of thunder, which makes you grab your umbrella. That is right brain thinking, that's the experience. You hear everything, you're aware of everything that's happening in that moment. While you are focusing on the folder you need to go talk to your accountant about. The focus is on the folder, but at the same time, you're aware of everything else. You can hear the birds outside. You can hear a fountain drip. And you can hear the thunder. That's a little bit the same as when you draw a portrait. I see the background. I see my hair. I also see that there's still a lot wrong with the picture. But don't judge. Please don't judge. Also not your own drawing. The judgment is actually the biggest block of moving forward. That is typical left brain thinking. The left brain loves to judge. It's either right or wrong. 1 and 1 is 2. It's logic, it's mathematical. There are no gray tones. There is no course correction. It's linear. It's linear thinking. But the right brain doesn't think like that. The right brain sees that the eyes are still crooked, but not knowing exactly where this needs to go, so leave it for a little bit. I will correct it later. And if you let the left brain talk and say, well, see, this cannot amount to anything because you already have it wrong. No, I'm not ditching the left brain at all, because the mathematical, the logical thinking got us to build high rises and planes, and I'm really enjoying all these things. So no, I'm not ditching it. But the left brain has become a little bit too dominant. And the right brain also has great stories to tell. Actually, I think the right brain has the most fun. And let's have some fun in this lifetime too, right? So be quiet. Do you know that drawing and talking at the same time, it's almost impossible to do? People who are in a drawing class and keep rambling on, they're not concentrated on drawing, because it really comes from a different part of your brain. I don't care what they say about science, about the two hemispheres, but try to do it, concentrate really on drawing and concentrate on what you're saying. That's impossible. I'm not talking while I'm drawing. Later, I made the words I'm saying, but I'm not talking during my drawing. It's almost impossible. See, the problem is that the left brain wants to put everything in words, and then it has data, puts it, tucks it away somewhere in the brain. But the right brain is not interested in that at all. It's very visual. It speaks with shapes and lines and gray tones. That's what the right brain does. I remember when I was starting to study drawing at the Academy of Fine Arts in The Hague, that it would get very, very quiet. That was a most amazing experience that I saw for the first time. 15 people were quietly drawing for hours. You could only hear the scratching of the charcoal. It was almost like a religious feeling, a religious experience. Just the scratching of the charcoal. And I think that's where, for me, drawing became my sanctuary. It's like you enter a different zone. You're zoning in to something of a different vibration. That's what I think. So I also think that, or I actually know that, while drawing, your intuition becomes stronger. And intuition is definitely a part of the right brain. People who say I don't have intuition, I don't believe it. Everybody's born with intuition, just like everybody's born with the right side of the brain. It's not activated. When the lines that you see are getting darker, it means I'm more confident that that is exactly the right spot where I wanted it. So I'm closely building all the shading, all the dark parts that I see, but I leave the light parts white. I have to know where the light is coming from. And halfway this drawing, I saw that there was even more light, and that's how it happens too. You see, the longer you look at something, the more you see. And maybe it was there all along. I don't know. They say that the biggest fear people have is for public speaking. But I don't think that. I think it's the most important when you want to do good business, it can help you in your business. So it has a different priority. It's more important for your survival than drawing. But the fear for drawing is enormous. I've seen it with many people. Because when you put something of yourself on paper, it's there, unmistakably there, and it will be judged either by you or by somebody else. So when you start drawing a portrait and it's not correct the first time, you'll have to let it go, because out of shame or whatever, that you cannot do this, is like almost a criminal act. It's a learnable skill. Everybody can do this. While I was drawing, though, I started to ask myself some existential questions that I heard a lot, that people during COVID got that. What is my reason for being? I started diving really deep into my own psyche while drawing. And that's the good thing, because you digest these thoughts through the right brain, through the intuition, through a higher vibration, let's put it that way. And an eraser is a great tool. You can always course correct. I think you should try to do this as well. But take your time and don't judge too early. Don't abandon the project too early. I'm here to help you to learn how to draw. Don't question also why you should do it. Just activate something that needs to be activated and see how it changes your life. See how much fun it is too to talk to other people and share experiences about, why was I so afraid of drawing? It's harmless. It costs less than $1. I mean, the tools cost less than $1. Why wouldn't you? Anyway, these are my thoughts about life, about drawing, about how to weave it into your life. And let feelings of loneliness just dissipate. You're not alone. You never were. COVID did not make that difference. You know, Rembrandt made so many portraits of himself, and they all became famous. I mean, I'm not thinking that this portrait will go to a museum anytime soon. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. For him, it didn't matter either.